The response to Trump saying he was going to give the graduation address at the University of Alabama this year elicited quite the response from Alabama's college Democrats. They said in response to this news, quote, "We are shocked and disgusted to learn that our unpopular, divisive, and authoritarian president will be involved in commencement for the graduating class of 2025. This insult will not go unanswered." The last time the disgraced criminal visited campus, he was able to turn the Alabama-Georgia game, the biggest college football game on our campus in years, into a political sideshow. We cannot allow this to happen with our commencement ceremonies.
The University of Alabama's college Democrats, who are making me proud to call myself an Alabamian, finally, have issued a gigantic and eloquent middle finger to President Trump in response to the university's giving into his self-invitation to speak at the university's commencement. Despite the fact that the state of Alabama is a relatively conservative state, conservatives have not been receiving a universally warm welcome across the state, especially given the administration's most recent flirtations with fascism.
The Trump administration kidnapped one of our Ph.D. students for no reason a few weeks ago and is holding him without bond at an ICE black site in Louisiana. There is no greater insult than this. We simply don't want UA to be turned into a backdrop for MAGA propaganda.
Officials say federal immigration agents have detained a University of Alabama doctoral student who is a citizen of Iran. The student is currently being held in a detention facility, but ICE records don't list where he's being held or the reason for his detention.
Alireza Doroudi, an Iranian national here legally pursuing his Ph.D. at the University of Alabama, was disappeared by ICE for a questionable reason. But at least in this instance, Mr. Doroudi did receive a hearing before a court, which is more than can be said for a lot of the other detainees and deportees by ICE. But however, in a ruling issued by the presiding judge in this case, the court found that Mr. Doroudi, quote, failed to meet the burden of showing that he was not a threat to national security. If that sounds odd to you, it's because it is odd. That is precisely backwards, the exact opposite of what our legal system is supposed to be set up. The burden of proof is not on the defendant to disprove a claim, to say something isn't the case. The burden of proof has traditionally, and I can't think of a scenario in which it wouldn't be the case, been on the prosecution and the plaintiff to prove that something is a case. This will be a very dangerous precedent to set, not just for immigration law, but for any kind of law. Under this president and under this logic, if I were AG or DA, I could pick you up, random internet person, and say that, well, you shot Tupac or you shot Kennedy or some other outrageous claim and just lock you up somewhere and just wait around until you disprove whatever outrageous claim I made. I don't have to worry about investigating or presenting evidence or providing probable cause as to why I locked you up in the first place. I can just snatch you up and just say something.
Aaron, thanks for coming in, being here in studio. So what more can you tell us about the student in Alabama?
We know that he's Iranian. We know that he's a doctoral student studying some kind of metallurgy. And otherwise, we have got requests out to the Department of Homeland Security that say, why'd you detain him? And they haven't responded to us. But the University of Alabama says he was detained, and they are trying to figure out, just like we are, why, where he's being held, what the circumstances are. We just don't know. But he's one of a half dozen, at least, international students that the administration has detained as they try to crack down on people, at least that we know of, who have been pro-Palestinian or part of that activist community.
And it's not like these ICE detention centers are pleasant places to be. Canadian citizen Jasmine Mooney has wrote about her experience in detention.
Writing in The Guardian, quote, I was taken to a tiny freezing cement cell with bright fluorescent lights and a toilet. There were 5 other women lying on their mats with aluminum sheets wrapped over them, looking like dead bodies. The guard locked the door behind me. For 2 days, we remained in that cell, only leaving briefly for food. The lights never turned off. We never knew what time it was, and no one answered our questions.
That sounds completely barbaric and absolutely antithetical to what we stand for as Americans. Sure, there are people in this country who commit crimes, who are here undocumentedly, who could potentially be deserving of treatment like what Jasmine Mooney experienced, but not people like her. who've done absolutely nothing and was provided with absolutely no rationale as to why she was treated the way she was. No criminal record, no claim against her, just utter confusion.
Why weren't you allowed to book yourself a flight back home?
I have no idea. I assume that if there were a denial with my visa, I would just book myself a flight and head back home, apparently because I had one denial before and then my other visa was voided. So for some reason, they said that they had to send me back to Canada. And I was literally booking my own flight to go home. And then that's when I was taken. And then I was in there for 12 days and not a single person talked to me the entire time that I was in there about my case.
Why do you think you were not given the opportunity? Do you feel like you were being used to send a message to others?
You know, I've been trying to come up with every explanation that I can, and I truly don't know.
No doubt heard of stories like Miss Mooney here and Mr. Doroudi and like Kilmar Abrego Garcia from many more commenters than myself. But these stories are not about Mr. Garcia, Miss Mooney, or Mr. Doroudi. They're about you. That's why you keep hearing people raise the alarm about due process, because it's important. Yes, there are people in this country, both citizen and otherwise, bad people who do bad things that are awarded certain legal protections. And sometimes folks get frustrated because the legal system works too slowly in their estimation and doesn't serve justice nearly quick enough. But it is necessary because without it, you have innocent people getting snatched up and sent to gulags across the globe. And what's more, without it, you cannot have a democracy. I mean, even now you have Trump saying that it would be too inconvenient to have a trial for all the people he plans on deporting.
And I hope we get cooperation from the courts because, you know, we have thousands of people that are ready to go out. And you can't have a trial for all of these people.
At the same time, he's also trying to eliminate birthright citizenship. What makes you a citizen? What makes me a citizen? If he had his way, I cannot answer that question. Likewise, I don't know what would keep him, or what could keep him from, if he decided to, sending me to a Salvadorian prison, despite the fact that I was born in this country. So when you hear stories like the story of Kilmar Garcia or Miss Mooney here or Mr. Doroudi, don't worry about whether or not they deserve the treatment they got. Worry about whether or not the process happened the way it was supposed to happen. Because that same process that was supposed to protect Miss Mooney and is supposed to protect Kilmar Abrego Garcia is the same process that's supposed to protect you. And if it didn't work for them, it may not work for you.